So last week we had this structure, and we're keeping this similar structure this week, and really talking about starting with, I'd like to hear some good things, just a couple people talking about the positive perspective, because I think it's so easy, every day to get stuck in the what's going wrong or the challenges or the oh shit moments that it's easy to start losing sight of the good things. Also, I think it's really cool. I was talking to one of our clients yesterday, and he was like, as crazy it is with the kids at home and doing school and all the things, it's been really neat to not have soccer practice and basketball practice and choir practice and the concerts and all the things that our families like playing more games together, and we're just together more in a positive way too. I was like, that's a great way to look at it, because you could be focusing on the monotony of it all or the stress and chaos of it all. But I'd love for a couple people to kind of jump in and just share, what are a couple positive things or good things that have come out of either personally or professionally within your business. Start us off on a good note. Is there anybody who would like to jump in and share?
We, we have a fairly good sized firm. There's about 30 lawyers, and somehow we have managed to move everyone to remote. Things seem to be running smoothly. It's hard to manage everyone's emotions when you talk to your staff all day long about how they're doing and what their fears are. And since we do a lot of litigation, wondering if we're ever going to get back into the court, it's looking now like it's probably going to be June. But in spite of that, I think everyone's pretty good. I think Zoom happy hours are really good because people want to see each other and know that they're all okay. And I think that has been great. We've been trying to do that. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I totally agree on the Zoom happy hours. It's easy to think of the Zoom video as just a solution for our businesses because we have to continue to keep business moving forward. But using it as a social tool is incredibly important, especially given us not being able to connect socially as much today. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else would like to share a positive thing?
I'll tell you, obviously, like copying you sometimes can be just like sincere flattery. So hopefully you'll take it that way. No, I know you will. But just touching on Elisa's comment about the happy hour, we did a happy hour with our firm yesterday. And it actually, at first I thought people be resistant or think it was cheesy, but I really did copy your deal about like, okay, what are the positives that you're seeing and experiencing? And then the fear factor, like what are you guys afraid of? And what I was really surprised by was how much feedback I got on both. But the fear piece, talking to the team about the fear piece, it opened up all this idea and discussion around what we can be doing better, where people feel like they're lagging in support as far as being at home, what they're worried about as far as like our expectations of them as they work from home. And so I was pleasantly surprised with how open people were. And then I'd say the other thing that was fun was yesterday, my kid told me that she now spends so much time with me, she knows the real me. Which I said, well, is that good or bad? And she said, oh, I really like you.
Okay. I love it. That's awesome. The real you.
Yeah.
So I would say what I'm seeing as a positive is that frenzy, although there's still high anxiety, that frenzy that happened the first couple of weeks in every organization, at least in ours, I see as somewhat leveled off. So that's one positive. And a second, I just sent out to an organization in Clayton that had a workshop probably about a month ago, and they did it was a forecast. It was an odd type of workshop at first, but then one of the questions they asked you to do exercises, if you had more time and not as many distractions. What would you do? And everybody had to write this down, and everybody thought, no, I'll never do this. And one of mine was to paint. I haven't painted in 30 years, and I used to love to paint. So last week, my daughter said, hey, Dad, you want to each paint a picture? And I did an oil picture, and I hadn't done that in 30 years. So I went back to that individual that invited me to that workshop, and I said, just last month, who would have ever thought within a month I would actually deliver on what my objective was to paint someday when I had more time. So that was a positive for me.
The question is, are you going to show it to us, Chris? We can't see your face. You just told us you did this awesome masterpiece. Now we need to see it.
Yeah, I will. I'll dash when somebody else is talking. I'll run and get the picture and I'll show it to you.
Perfect. Okay, that'd be great. Thank you all. Is there anybody else that wanted to share something?
I can add one thing, Jamie, and
Yeah,
that is,
great.
one of the ways we're trying to support our clients right now is that I'm offering 15-minute pro bono calls with all of our clients, first come, first serve, limited basis. And I'm pretty deep into it at this point. And I'll tell you candidly, I started out like with a lot of trepidation because I felt like I was going to be this container for all of the anxiety that our clients are feeling right now. And I've been so pleasantly surprised. While there is definitely a level of anxiety, it's more around how do I apply for all of the various loan programs? No one knows, no one understands what the specifications really are, especially when you get really deep into what constitutes payroll cost and what's actually forgivable. But they all, were incredibly grateful. They were all very positive and optimistic and really just trying to figure out how to weather this storm so that they can hit the ground running when they can all go back to business, to doing business. So I was really happy to hear that.
That's awesome, Sarah. Thanks for sharing. I thought this might be encouraging too if I shared this with you all. Legal back office, our clients are law firms, and we say that we're a business partner with our law firms. We're not just an outsourced vendor. And so, of course, when this all started happening, my thought is, okay, as our clients might start to have some cash challenges, are they going to want to cut back on expenses and cut, some of their services like marketing services or accounting services or consulting or whatever. And then it's like I've just been pleasantly surprised at how we've been challenged in a good way, that we truly are a business partner and we're here to serve our clients and help them through this time. And if any client needs to peel back what they're paying, we're saying, okay, well, let us just keep serving you. You peel back what you're paying. And if we do the right thing now, we trust the right thing will come back to us later. And I was just having this conversation and trying to work through, what we're going to do for some of our clients. And 30 minutes later, we got a new client. Literally 2 days ago, we got a new client, new law firm client. We've done some project work for them, and now we're doing ongoing monthly marketing services for them. And that was very encouraging to me because it's okay, while businesses are trying to figure out what in the hell are we going to do, there's still an eye on the prize. There's still an eye on growth. There's still an eye on the strategy. It's not all about the fear, but we're all still thinking about that thriving. How do we not just survive in our business, but also still try to set ourselves up to thrive, if not in the short term, definitely in the long term. And so that was really encouraging to me that business is still going, business is still moving, we're all still here. So I hope that's encouraging for you all. So on that note, we're focusing on money today and financial management, and we're in the fear factor section of our collaboration call here. So I think this is an opportunity to really be transparent. We're all business owners on this call, or in leadership within law firms, or leadership within business in some way, and we should be able to say, I am really afraid of X. So who's afraid, and say what you're afraid of when it comes to money, and then we'll talk about some solutions and collaborate on what everybody else has found. And we've pulled some stuff together too to help out. Who would like to be brave?
I'm worried about whether we're going to be able to keep our entire staff.
Yeah.
I talked to a banker this week about the PPP loans, which I know we'll get into this later, but one thing he said to me that kind of concerns me is, like, right now, our firm has not felt the effects financially yet, because doing family law, like, there's a lot of work that I'm able to get done now that I normally can't get to on a regular basis because I'm in court. And so that's nice for now. And kind of what he said was the way he looks at this COVID situation is there's an accident on the highway, and the law practice is still about 5 or 6 exits behind, where we're streaming along okay for now, but it's going to hit. And so trying to figure out how to prepare for the hit and be realistic about it, but also it's hard to really comprehend because, like, right now we're okay.
Yeah, we're seeing some of that. I don't do any family law. Years ago, did a lot of it, but 3 of the people in my firm do quite a bit of it. And, we're seeing that a lot of them can be, slower pay or difficult pay, if you will, for part of the time. And I think we're going to see that later in the year, probably. We're doing our billing right now as we normally do it. I'll be interested to see, 1, what we're actually billing out, but 2, more importantly, what's going to come in and how much that's going to drop off. And, we haven't seen, at least in March, payments have pretty much come in, although I can tell you there are a lot of $50 and $100 payments coming in. But, we'll take it and see. But the clients are going to fall off too, because the courts are so shut down so much. I do a lot of criminal work, and the federal courts are pretty much shut down for that. State courts certainly are, unless they're in custody. And so there's going to be delay in payment on a lot of that too. So a lot of it is, we're not going to know in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks. We may know in 6 months, where we are. And there's, of course, the unknown is bothersome, to put it mildly. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Sarah and Randy said, which is I've got a lot of AR out there, and I'm worried about the collectability of that in the near term. I do a lot of transactional work, and that has pretty much dried up, and it's shifted to things like, hey, can you write a letter to my landlord to tell him that I'm not going to pay rent this month? And I know that I'm also on the short list of, hey, these are things that we might be able to delay payment on. So I think AR is going to be a challenge here in the near term.
I don't know if this is an encouragement or a good or a bad thing. I'll just say it and you can take it for what it is. But for the family law lawyers on the call, I'm not sure if you've been reading the articles about the divorce spike in China. That's, about a month or 2 behind us. So I won't say whether that's good or bad. I'll let you all decide that for yourselves. But I have been reading a little bit of that, which has been interesting. I read something the other day too about just conjecture about businesses that have cash but are still looking to capitalize on loan opportunities now, just to try to prepare for what could happen in the future if they end up not having a cash issue over the next few months, that they're going to be looking to do something different with those dollars, like investing in their own growth or invest. It's just been interesting kind of reading about conjecture about post-COVID issues. We have a bike helmet stolen over here. Stop the presses. It's inside, buddy. Why don't you go get it? I think that's kind of cool, right? I mean, everyone's just kind of patient and gracious with everybody and what's going on in the background. You kind of have to be, right? Well, any other fears before we go on to just solution processing?
Hey, Jamie.
Yeah.
Jamie, I'd like to express one. So basically, hello, everybody. This is Marco Lozano. I'm Vice President of Operations and Litigation Paralegal at the law offices of Glenn F. Larson. We're a personal injury law firm in Austin, Texas. And one of my biggest fears that I'm seeing in regards to the treatment of our clients for their medical injuries, just recently it passed the Texas Medical Board that no longer can our clients receive recommended procedures from pain management doctors for like ESI injections and of that sort. And so what that's going to cause is a delay on treatment and a gap in treatment, which insurance companies are going to attack on and pick us apart. And so my fear is if this goes prolonged 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I mean, this can really, really wreck a case financially to where the insurance cannot say, oh, the COVID-19, they'll just pick it apart and say that the client wasn't really hurt as much as they are, based upon all the doctor's recommendations. So one of my fears is just the case value and the return back on that could hurt substantially in the end if that is such a cloudy picture when it comes to that part.
I mean, thank you for sharing that, because that's a really valid point. As law is shifting and changing, in some cases permanently, in some cases temporarily, to try to adjust to meet the challenges and demands of society. I mean, it's just going to we have to change right along with it. And how do we strategize on how to change along with it? I mean, just in Missouri, they're allowing for virtual mediations and doing some work virtually within the legal system, but they're not yet allowing notarizations. So you can't do a virtual or digital notarization yet, and yet you can do a full mediation over virtual. So people that are in this industry, how do we adjust to what we can do and not just say, okay, that just means we can't do all these things. Well, how can we do it then? And I think that's the important thing, is asking ourselves, if we're limited, how can we still do the thing that we need to do? Like, what extra documentation do we need? Or, how can we get people 90% there, and then as soon as we can be in person again, then we do the notary, right? Instead of just saying, okay, I'm not going to do this at all. And I shared this the last call, and I'll share it this one too, because I think it was really cool. A friend of mine said he was so getting kind of down and depressed with all the limitations of society and business that he decided to pull himself out of it. He was going to write a list of everything he can do. So yes, I can't get within 6 feet of someone else, but that doesn't mean I can't go outside. I can go outside. I can go on a walk. I can go on a bike ride. I can do these things. And he was just saying how powerful that was. Here are all the things we can do right now, and how can we do all the things that we can do right now to prepare for this just changing time. So I'm offering that up as just an idea to get into a different frame of mind now as we start talking about solutions and ideas for solutions. As we've talked about fears, I'm worried about having to lay people off, or how can I hold on to my people? I'm worried about doing everything right in applying for some of these loans. I'm worried about my practice changing, the type of work that we're doing. I'm worried about AR. I'm worried about changing legislation. Did I capture everything, or I think I got close to it? I'd love that. I mean, I called this a collaboration circle for a reason, because there's so many webinars out there, and there's so much material out there that we could all read. And we've got some people on the call prepared to talk a little bit too, from an expert perspective. But I'd love for you all to knowledge share and us all collaborate on the things that we've read and found to help just ease those fears a little bit, or give us good direction on those solutions. So I'm wondering, just an open forum, would anyone like to dive in and offer some solutions you found or resources that might help ease some of those fears people have shared?
I can tell you that we took yesterday to address, we've talked about keeping staff and some of our financial issues. Yesterday, we have a separate payroll account, and yesterday I moved enough to cover April payroll, because we've continued to assure our staff. We've tried to. Nothing's changed. They keep getting information from various sources, and certainly don't want to offer them any guarantees, but also we tell them, look, nothing's changed. And so, but that makes a couple of us feel good, at least that we know that we have April payroll covered, and gives us a little bit of breathing room. One less thing I have to worry about now is payroll, depending on what comes in this month, is at least we know we can make it through April.
Quick question for you, Randy.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, and this might be something just for the rest of the group to think about too, are you guys an open book or quasi open book with your firm? Like, do your staff and attorneys see some level of the financials of the firm?
The attorneys have access to the main, theoretically they have access to all the bank accounts, but at least they can see all of them. But as a practical matter, none of them really look at it. Well, there's 2, 3 of us sometimes that look at it. Certainly our primary operating account, everybody can see, and that's where they see the money is. And so we have money there without even, I mean, some of them couldn't even tell you, what our monthly expenses are, which
Sure.
they should, but they don't know, they don't know. And so, but yeah, we're open in terms of people can look at it if they want to, and people can call the bank. I mean, they're on the accounts. Not everybody has signature authority.
Sure.
So, but yeah, generally we're open, and they can get that information. And of course they can, run various reports if they want.
Do any other businesses or firms on the call have an open book or even a quasi open book?
Our attorneys get to see the financials.
Wait, say that again real quickly.
All the partners see the financials. The attorneys get to see, I believe, where they are.
Okay. Their
In terms of-
personal dollars.
Yeah, their personal dollars, money in on every single case. We give it to them monthly, so they know exactly where they are and what's going on.
Okay.
We're pretty open with our people as well. Jamie got us started doing that with our firm at our firm meetings. So everyone in our entire firm, from reception to paralegals to lawyers, everybody sees like what our goal is and where we're at and what expenses are and what we've brought in.
Thanks for sharing that, Sarah. I think there's, if you can, it lends some credibility to, if your message is, hey, we're fine, we're doing okay, you can show people that we're fine, we're doing okay. Or if it's, we're concerned, here's why we're concerned. And there's lots of pros and cons behind open book, trust me. I could share 25 cons for every pro, but there's lots of pros. And one thing I do is I have a little, invoice tracker, a spreadsheet that I pull up in our meetings, monthly meetings, and show everyone, here's the amount of revenue that I know we're going to have over the next couple of months, so they can see the committed revenue. And I think it just helps people to see, like, here's our monthly recurring, and here's our project-based income. And I really welcome people to engage in that conversation. I mean, my team, a few of them are on the call, they can speak to whether that's helpful or not. I'm really open, but it's because I want them to be able to see the dollars too. It's not just me and saying, trust me, we're going to be okay. Or I can tell them, hey, here's where I'm concerned. Here's where we've, got some strength. And here's where I think we could fill in. Maybe my team could jump in a little bit that are on the call. Is that helpful to you all, or what is helpful for you guys to see to kind of ease your fears?
I mean, I think it's very useful. I like being able to have that openness and know that, my work is, having a positive impact on, where the company stands as a whole.
Thanks. We didn't plan for that, by the way. It just came up.
For me, having clear expectations helps. Like, are we all supposed to be on at like 9 a.m.? Are we, kind of what's the flow? And Jamie's been clear on that and been pretty flexible with all of us.
So that's just a thought, I was going to put out there for any concerns about, like, easing the staff's concerns or attorneys, if they're not sure, what the future looks like, maybe opening up the books a little bit more so they can see it, no matter how good it is or how bleak it is. Because then no one's surprised, and it's kind of backing up your words. That's just one thought, and you could be not completely open book, but a little bit open book. Some of the other fears, or did anyone else have any other thoughts? Any other fears about, like, I'm just worried we're going to be losing people? Did someone want to maybe jump in and provide a solution or something you've read that could be helpful for that?
Well, one of the things that I'm spending a lot of time doing is talking to my associates and my paralegals who are just worried to death about losing their job. They're also, as you said, working for home. Some of them have kids home, some of them don't. So we need to be flexible with them. We know that they're not going to bill what they were billing before. And I think to some extent, I worry that we've given them too much financial information because then they're really going to worry, as opposed to just saying to them at this point, what we want is everybody to work as hard as they can, do their work, do some work that's non-billable for the good of the firm, things that we know need to be done that haven't been done in ages because we haven't had time because we've been too busy. And what I've been doing is giving the associates all some jobs that can be done for those things that we haven't been able to do in the past, and just said to them, don't worry about the numbers right now, because we're all in the same boat with the numbers. And it's our fault if we can't give them the work to be done. So I don't want them crazy with the numbers. I want them just to know that I want them to do what they can do and do some work that's going to be non-billable, because that's what we may be doing right now.
Great. I'm going to jump in for a minute and talk more about all these different loans that are flying out there. So for any of you that I didn't get to meet last week, I'm Andrea Steinbrenner. I'm the COO, CFO of Legal Back Office. And as you can imagine, in my world, I've been reading almost every notification and trying to figure out the best way to get the communication out. We put together a cash calculator that we'll show you guys towards the end of the call, and we'll send out to you that you can use right now. I'm also trying to work on just like almost like a side-by-side comparison of your different options in lending, and kind of like when you're assessing products you want to buy, having the ticker marks under each qualification just to help sort through what's best for you. The two big ones right now that everyone's talking about under the CARES Act is the disaster relief and the payroll protection. There's some nuances to both. And so I'm going to talk about the payroll protection first. I'm not recommending that everybody do that one, but I think it's a more lucrative financing option. But we'll also talk about the disaster relief. So the whole intent of the payroll protection loan is for people to keep employees employed as best as they can. And it's not quite as much money available to each business as the disaster relief, but the availability of it and the forgiveness of it is very, very smart. And so essentially what's going to happen when you apply is they're going to look at your 2019 payroll records and probably year-to-date 2020 and earmark 2.5 months of payroll expenses to your business. And it should take about 2 weeks to get the funding. And they're actually starting to receive applications. Initially, it was going to be tomorrow on April 3rd. I'm seeing different publications. It might be as late as April 6th, but it's going to happen now. And this is for businesses with under 500 employees, including nonprofits, small business, self-employed people as well. So this isn't just for entities that are filed. The benefits that the payroll protection offers is a couple. One, if you use the funds for paying your people for rent and utilities, and there's different notifications out there right now, and I'm reading, some of them are saying including your 1099s, which is really important because some of those are very critical to the function of our companies. If you're using funds for all of those reasons, you should get full forgiveness when all this is said and done. So essentially the government is saying, we give you 2.5 months of free money because we want the economy to keep going. And the way the economy keeps going is people get paid and then people spend. So we're essentially going to fuel people to keep being e-commerce because we need to keep the economy going, even if it's at a slow drip. If it wasn't to get forgiven, the stipulations are right now, we're seeing that there's a max of between 4 and 5% interest. Interest is deferred for at least the first 6 months to up to 12. Payments are deferred for at least 6 months up to 12. And they're willing to bleed this loan out over a 10-year amortization. So as you can imagine, even if it's not free money, it's very, very cheap money. And it's worth the risk to keep your doors open, because when the dust settles, you're going to want all those people. If you've already furloughed or laid some people off, as long as you rehire them by June 30th and you start paying them by then, you're okay and you can still use the money. So there's certain businesses that are especially really, it's not really for law firms, but maybe you have, or you furloughed some wages. They recommend, if you have, to get those people rehired or back into full-time business by the middle of June, to give yourself a couple of weeks of grace room, and then use the funds to pay them. So again, it's a really lucrative, positive thing that the government's making available. It does not require a personal guarantee either. And really what's going to happen is when you apply for the loan and use it, and if somebody wants to come and check on you, they're going to look at your payroll records and you're going to sign a letter as the owner of the firm saying, this is what I use the funds for. So and you can pay yourself too. Like, this is including paying yourself, because you have to put food on the table as well. So I just can't reiterate, like, I've never seen anything like this in the financial world. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this again, but it's pretty cool. Disaster relief is a little bit more cumbersome. You have to actually qualify for it. Your business has to be directly affected at this point by COVID, which I think there's a argument that all law firms are. Courts aren't open, right? If you qualify, you can get a little bit more money. So it's up to $2 million. There's interest that's applied right away, and you have to personally guarantee it. So there's just a little bit more stickiness around it. Right, what you do is you submit an application that shows 6 months of operating expense, and that's what they would earmark for you. So up to $2 million. So if you have 6 months of operating expense that exceeds $2 million, you'd only get a certain percentage. So that's the quick and dirty on these two loans. There's a little bit more in it, but they're not really more complicated than that. We'll try to get some publication out by the end of the week, kind of that ticker I was telling you about from LBO, showing the differences, and you can run down the list and put your own check marks and figure out what feels right. Definitely talk to any bankers, especially bankers at your current banks, and find out, one, if your current banks are part of these acts, and then two, how quickly you can apply with them. You don't have to apply through your current banks. It's just easier sometimes because you already have relationships and they have a lot of your information. They have your prior tax returns, they have your financials, they have everything that's on the checklist that comes through. And then there's some other financing options you can look into too. And I'll pull this up in our cash calculator, but some things to think about when you go, Andrew, that's great, but if I don't get this money, kind of to Randy's point, I've got a month of payroll, but what if it takes till early May to get the funds? There's some other things you can do. If you have a line of credit, you can bleed that baby out. You can draw down your line of credit, put that cash in the bank. And if you don't need it, just put it right back. But at least it puts cash in your operating account to alleviate some of the pressure. You can also call your credit card companies and see if there's cash advances that you want to take out for the next 2 weeks, just again, to put cash in your bank. Again, all of these things can be quickly reversed, but right now liquidity is the name of the game. And even though there's a cost to doing those things, it puts immediate dollars in your bank account to kind of alleviate the the bills keep coming, but the AR has dried up a little bit. So those are some quick tips to solutions on cash management. And yeah.
Sarah Marlar, is there anything you wanted to offer in this that you found? I know you've been doing a lot of research too.
I can send out if anybody wants it. I talked to a banker at Commerce Bank, and so they sent me ahead of time, the same day it was released, the application because it says sample on it, but at least you have an idea of what you're looking at and what you have to put together. The other thing they sent was just kind of some breakdown stuff, but I think you have that. I'm also signed up for a webinar tomorrow. It's free. I can send this link around too. It's put on to address PPP loans for lawyers. And basically what they're saying is don't mess it up. It's the biggest giveaway in US history. here's the important steps you need to know on, how to fill out, how to apply, and how to make sure you do it in such a way that you can qualify and hopefully not have to pay it back.
I'd love that, Sarah, if you could send that. That would be great.
Sure.
Does anybody know when this money is going to be available? Because some clients have told me that they've tried to get online and apply for the businesses, and it's not available yet.
Not yet. So the applications were supposed to open up tomorrow. I read yesterday that they might not open up until Monday now. So once you apply, it's about a 2-week turnaround. My guess is the sooner you apply, the better, because the system's going to get super jammed up a week after applications open up. So you could be waiting 30 days, which isn't terrible for free money, but the sooner the better.
Yeah, I talked to our banker yesterday, and they've got, apparently either yesterday or today, SBA was supposed to release a whole bunch more information on it, the details. He said, look, honestly, we just don't know yet. But we do have the application. It's sitting in front of me for the PPP.
Yeah.
It's 2 pages. It's very, very simple.
Yeah.
It's potentially, you don't even have to submit your tax information yet, but again, that's supposed to, but yeah, the timing's the big question on it.
And a lot of the bankers don't really know what the feds are asking either. So if you need help navigating through the questions, just call us or somebody else you trust. Your questions aren't stupid, and a lot of times the bankers don't know. So the biggest one I've gotten across the board is, what is COGS, cost of goods sold, and do I have it, and do I need to report it? And the answer right now is there's an argument that everybody has it. Is it mission critical on your application? No. If you ask bankers, they go, so all it is for law firms is your direct labor. So you can put your payroll costs in COGS, or you can leave it below the line. It does not matter right now. It will not change the validity of your application. But there's a lot of questions out there like that. So feel free to just shoot them over in email, text, whatever.
Andrea, did you say it first? And maybe I misheard you, but I want to circle back if you did say this. Did you say that you weren't necessarily recommending everybody apply for the PPP?
No, I don't want to put a statement out there that I'm telling everybody to apply, but I think it is the right one to apply for first.
Okay.
The stipulation is if you've already applied for disaster relief and you apply for payroll, you can't have both out at one time. So any money you get for the PPP, you have to use or other assets to pay off your disaster relief before you can use your PPP. So it's just a better one, I think, right now. Again, it's not as much money, but it's free money, and it will cover your employee costs, which is what we're offering.
I think the only caveat, and anyone can jump in here, obviously, that knows more than me. The only caveat is if you don't have any payroll expenses, really, then or many payroll expenses, that might be the one condition where that one might not be the better one for you. So if you don't have a lot of contractors, you don't have a lot of payroll, or if you're a fairly new business and you didn't have much payroll in 2019, that might be another reason why you might go a different direction. Anybody else have anything to share on that particular topic? Or
I just want to add, you can go on now. I did it yesterday and get a $10,000 grant. It'll be subtracted from your PPP funds if you want it, but if you don't even qualify for the PPP, it's still $10,000 in free money. It took me literally 5 minutes to fill out the form and send it in. They said that the money should be in my account in 3 business days. I'm not going to hold my breath on that one, but a $10,000 advance that you don't have to pay back, no matter if you qualify for a future loan or not, is not a bad thing.
yeah,
Did you apply through your bank, Britt, or did you?
No, you don't have to. You apply directly via the SBA site.
SBA. Okay.
And it's a 2-page form where it's just check boxes that you're not doing anything illegal. And you put your bank account information in there, and they say the 10,000 is going to come in the next few days.
hey, just a real quick note too. Last week we committed to getting a LinkedIn group up and running for this group, and it is up. Most of you, if you've already attended, have been invited, or if you're on the meeting invite. So anything that you have to share, resources, links, please post in that LinkedIn group. It's just a convenient way for people to be able to share. Anybody else want to jump in on that before we go to the next thing?
Yeah, I do. I got a
Yeah.
couple things.
Sure.
Andrea, to answer your question on a bank, at least what our bank is doing is they're only doing the PPP for the disaster loans, the EIDL or EDIL, whatever. They're just giving you the information to go directly to apply to SBA for that. It may very well vary. It's a community bank we deal with, and so that's what they're doing. Two, at least in terms of the state of Illinois has some state programs, and I can tell you that not-for-profit that I sit on applied, I believe, March 20th and got an initial response today, basically saying, look, we've designated, it appears to be a person, somebody who I've never heard of, doesn't necessarily mean anything, but somebody locally to coordinate the efforts locally for that particular disaster loan program. So that's at least in the state of Illinois, because they've, I think, reallocated some money here, supposedly.
I started talking and was still muted. One of the things I thought would be cool to share maybe next, and then we'll keep talking about the fears, is what we've heard from a lot of people is, I don't even know how much I should be getting in a loan. Like, I don't even know how to really see what my cash position is. You know, I see what's in the bank, but how can I actually see how much I think I'm going to need? Like, or how long can our firm sustain our staff as it is today and our expenses as it is today with the cash that we have on hand? I thought that'd be a good time to maybe have Andrea just share, maybe you could share your screen, Andrea. We'll attach this document so everyone can use it. It's just a really simple spreadsheet. And Andrea could just walk you guys through how to use it to get some numbers that will be helpful for you as you go through this process. And can you zoom in a little bit, Andrea? Hey, you're muted, just so you know.
Hold it, Jamie. Based on what we talked about last week, we created a document that will help alleviate some answers or potential questions around what you might need for cash. So we'll send this out to all of you when the call is over, but this is just to give you a snapshot. This area here is what I really, think will be beneficial to your firm and you as you're running your firm. So right here is these are just qualifications that you can fill out and plug in. We put some numbers in here to help show what would happen. So what this is the top of it is your cash. So what's in your checking account, what's in your savings account. Call it what you need to make it make sense. If it's your payroll account or your IOLTA or whatever it is, stick it in here so it makes sense for you. And collections from AR, you've actually confirmed for the month. So you've reached out to clients, or that you're going to bring in this additional cash. And then these last three are what we talked about earlier. If you wanted to, not that you will, but if you needed to, if you drew down on your line of credit or you took some cash advances from your credit cards. So once you fill these out, it's going to populate a couple numbers for you. And I'll explain those in a minute. The next part is your sales. So putting in what your monthly hourly billing is, what your fixed fee billing is, and any other residual income you might bring in. And then your payroll costs. So what's your attorney fee, what's your administration fee, and what are you paying yourselves as owners? And then your monthly expenses. So really standard stuff, right? Your rent, your utilities, line of credit, insurance, marketing, professional fees. You can kind of follow through. But what ultimately this will spit out is a couple things. One, it'll show you what your monthly cash burn rate is. So how much does it take for me to keep my doors open, both in payroll and expenses? And then it'll show you what your current cash on hand is. So that's including if you needed to have cash available now, what it would be. I like to put in what your monthly revenue numbers here look like, because those can change. And so what used to make sense for your business may look different, and it's good that you know that number. Your current cash available. So if I needed to draw cash now, what would it be? And how much could I actually get? Pulling from right here. and then what you think you're going to actually bring in collections. And so I put a pretty lean number in here right now because we don't know what's going to happen. Ultimately, what the idea is to say, okay, if I know that my monthly cash burn rate is 52.7, and I want to put in 6 months of cushion, about what everyone's recommending you have right now, starting at 6 months. How much cash do I need, and how does that compare to what I have on hand? Based on what I have on hand, how much reserve do I currently have? So right now, if your monthly burn rate is 52.7 and you have 187.5 on hand, you can get about 3.5 months down if nothing changed, if everything stayed the same of what you filled in. But what that would mean is you still need to go out and find another 181 to cover yourself, because eventually you're going to run out. So it's a really simple calculator, and it supports what we're talking about. So we'll send this out to you. If for some reason the numbers don't look right to you, let me know. I'm happy to get on a call, kind of what Sarah Stock was saying, like you just let us know. We'll jump on a call, work through it with you, help you fill it out. And then the idea would be that you can update this at least every week. Again, so you're not playing the back of the napkin game on a daily basis. Questions, thoughts, concerns?
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Back to you, Jamie.
Anyone else want to jump in? Just before we go into like our last segment here, we have about 9 minutes left, and I started to give the opportunity for anyone else to share, like on the financial side, any recommendations or tools or resources or what you've been hearing and advice on what people should be doing in terms of money or finances. Open forum.
Yeah, I can jump in and give a little bit of advice. Jordan Lindsay, I own a financial advising firm. And I think you guys, first of all, nailed it on the head in terms of, the options, especially with the lending side. One thing that you guys haven't touched on, and one of the things we work with our business owners on, is executive compensation plans, deferred compensation plans, things like that. And I don't know if you guys have any of those already existing set up for partners, for owners in your law firms. One thing you can do, depending on what types of plans you have, and even if you don't have them set up now, you have until the end of the year to set them up. But you can actually defer compensation for employees or partners that don't necessarily need it for the next month, and then give them an extra, called a bonus or interest return on what you're not paying them. So for example, let's say you have an attorney that's, you're planning on giving them a, profit sharing at the end of the year, and they average making $10,000 a month or whatever it may be. You can say, okay, before we do our profit sharing for the year, instead of the $10,000 that we didn't pay you in April, we're going to give you $12,000 towards your deferred compensation package at the end of the year on top of our normal profit sharing. So you can work with employees and partners that you have to technically defer payroll costs to them for the ones that are in a better position, don't necessarily need it right now. And, if they don't need their monthly salary this month, who doesn't want an extra, 10 or 20% going into my, profit sharing or deferred comp at the end of the year.
Thanks, Jordan. Yeah, that's good advice and something that could really be feasible for people. I know sort of one of our clients, they have, an attorney that's on kind of a special bonus program, and without even offering it to them, the attorney basically said, hey, I don't need it right now. Why don't you keep the bonus owed to me today to help support the cash position of the firm? And if you can get it to me by the end of the year, that's great, which, a lot of lawyers won't do that out of the goodness of their own heart, or they won't think of even suggesting it. So thank you for saying that, because I think that is valid, especially for bonuses that are paid on a regular basis. Going to a group of people and asking for even a deferred quarterly bonus to keep the cash in the bank now is a really great idea. So thanks for sharing that. Any questions for Jordan on that, or anyone? No. Okay. The last thing, you know, I'm just like such a compliment, positive sandwich sort of person. Start with positive, end with positive, because we need more positive in our lives every day, all day. I have just something like, I would want to open it up to the group to share like a quote. It doesn't have to be inspirational. It can be just hella funny. Something funny, a limerick, a joke, something positive, or just encouraging to sort of end on. Is there anyone that's like read something particularly good or funny that you'd like to share? Anyone?
Well, this is Chris. A good quote I heard the other day. It was, make your lonely client the connected client. I mean, we just assume we're all being told, connect with your client, pick up the phone, but should we bother them? But I like that quote, make your lonely client a connected client.
I like that too.
I really like that quote.
Yep, I like that too. I saw this thing on Facebook the other day. I'm sure we've all seen our fair share of like quarantine memes and jokes, but I just thought this was hilarious because I could totally relate to it. Gwyneth Paltrow said in an interview, we should take this time to learn a new language.
Sorry,
I'm almost done.
Okay, thank you.
Gwyneth Paltrow said in an interview, we should take this time to learn a new language or write a book. I just shook chip crumbs out of my bra and I have no idea what day it is. I'm fairly certain I'm not going to attempt either of these things. I thought that was really hilarious for like having perspective over what our new normal is, you know? So thank you everyone for just hopping on and sharing. I truly appreciate your time and it's really valuable. And us being able to walk through this time together, I think is just what it's all about, is how can we share?
Well, James, thanks for putting it together. It was great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we're here for. And thanks for being here. So we'll get all the resources out and recording to everyone so that you have this captured. And the LinkedIn group we invited you to, please share anything you come across there. And we'll be sharing there as well. So look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a great
Amy,
afternoon.
here's my picture.
Thanks, everybody.
Oh yeah, let's see your picture, Chris. Show it to us. I almost forgot.
See it, okay?
No, we can't see you at all. Your video's not on.
I'll show it next time.
All right.
All right, next week. All right, talk to you later. Bye.